good evening according to your time zones. So finally, I am here with my updated script, and the script there is something new. There is a new feature which was requested by my clients long time ago, and I have been working on this feature for many weeks, and now finally I am ready with this script, and it has the feature that you can set now the ID date of every user you want. So the thing is that you first, if you are total new to this script, then you should follow you should watch the previous videos how to configure, and this how this script actually works. Refer to the previous videos of this YouTube channel, and you should know that you always must have all these three scripts. So in this video, I will also be, trying to explain to my viewers that this script is not for free. Number one. Number two, this script does not work on your local networks or your home networks. You will have to have one VPS or virtual private server or a dedicated private server, and obviously subnets means extra IPs, as much as you want, for like /24 /23 /22. So you can have, you must have those in order to have your proxies or proxies working. So you will be given these three files, right? Configure.x, ext, squid IPs, ACL, and menu.x. These three scripts will be provided to you, and if you are new and there is no Squid proxy server running on your server, then you should just do this chmod 777 configure.x ext and then menu.x and hit enter. That's it. That's the first step. And then in second step, you will have to configure the proxy server. But if you are already my client and you are using my script, right? So what you have to do is you will definitely have to, wash everything out. You will have to do every step again. So in order to do that, you will do basically rm minus rf slash ec squid and hit enter. Once you hit enter, every configurations squid will be all the configurations will be gone, and then you will proceed like config.x. And for those who are using this script first time, they don't have to type this command. They just have to type this command and then start configuring with this command. Okay, now we will start configuration and hit enter. Now let it complete. So basically what actually happens, everything will be configured and installed. Those are required for the Squid proxy server to run. All the files and directories will be created, and everything that is required for your proxy server will be installed automatically. Now we will have to wait. It takes some say 15 to 30 minutes maximum, depending on the the speed of your processors, the speed of your server. I mean, how many processors you have, and also what is the bandwidth you have, internet bandwidth, and also how much RAM do you have. Since I am using a virtual machine and I don't have those much resources, so it's gonna take a little while. So let it complete the installation. Once installation is done, all you will be required to enter the ports. When we reach there, I'll explain to you. So let's wait for this to complete. Okay, now you can see that configuration is in process. So all we have to do is to wait and let the configuration complete. And Once the configuration is complete, then we'll be good to go and create the proxies and do other stuff. Okay, well, the setup is running, and I think we should save our time and just go through the actual script that we use. Let's go through the options. First thing, I have actually categorized all the options differently in different blocks, right? So option 1 and 2, adding IPs to the server and adding IPs to the interface. I have explained it in my previous videos as well, that why do we need to add IPs to the server with different option, and what is the difference between adding IPs to the interface. So it's very simple. Adding the IPs to the server means creating the proxies that of the subnets that you have on your server, and adding the IPs to the interface means making those IPs pingable, so that adding them to your actual network interface. So this script, the methods that I have used is that it actually adds the IPs using certain commands, and whenever you reboot your server, well, first of all, it is not recommended to reboot the server, but if you have to reboot the server, so all you have to do is to repeat the option 2, because the IPs you added will be gone. So what you have to do is to add the IPs to the interface with option 2 again if you reboot the server. And then we have option 3, adding single user and then assigning the IPs to that single user. But if you want to create the bulk users, you can go for option 5, and then with option 6, you can assign IPs to those bulk users. And then you can set the expiry date to each user. And for example, when you create a user, you have to mention how many IPs are you going to assign to that particular user. So, say for example, at the beginning, a client came to you and he wanted 25 IPs, but after some time, he demanded 25 more, but on the same username and password. So what you have to do is you will have to add the additional ports to that user, right? Or if you want to give him another different user with different password, then that's okay. You can just add a user over here, right? And then assign the IPs. But if you want to have the same username and password, but with additional IPs, so you have to add the additional ports as well. And once the ports are added, then you can use option 4 to assign IPs to that particular user. Okay, and once you are done with creating the user, assigning the IPs, then you can generate the file in this format: IP, port, username, and password. The file will be actually created with the username dot text at your root directory. You can see it over here, right? It over here. Okay, and then this is the other section that has enable Id authentication. For example, you get a demand from a user, from a client, that he does not want the format to be like IP code and username and password. Why? Because his software or his whatever he is using does not support the username and password. It supports only the IP code. So he will have to provide you his public IP, so that you can actually enable IP authentication and then generate the file for him in the following format, that is IP and port. And then these are the options for deleting certain things, and then these are the options for displaying certain things, and then these are generic options like blocking a user for some time, for 10 hours or 20 hours, whatever you want, and then unblocking the user. Okay, then blocking the website for all users and unblocking the website for all users, changing the password, clear the logs or free space. Sometimes if your server has been running for say months and months, and your hard disk space is running low, so your Squid will not proxy server will not run. You will definitely be having some errors. So it's best to clear some logs and get some free space with this option. And then you can actually block certain websites for a certain user, right? Here, the difference between blocking this website is it blocks website for every user, but this option, it blocks websites for certain users. And then there is this option, add site group. What does that mean? I have explained it in my earlier videos, but here I'll explain again. So for example, you don't want to block and unblock the websites individually each time. So it's best to have a group of websites, right? Site groups. For example, you call it social media, and then you call it footlocker group, and then you call it say streaming group, and then add particular websites to those groups, and then block that side group at once. You don't have to block every individual website one by one, or unblock one by one, right? Okay, then you can actually this is for system hardening. You can actually change the existing port of SSH, that is 22. So it's recommended to have a different port, so that security wise, and then you can block the port scanning. If you don't know about these things, you can Google what port scanning means and why is it required and recommended for your Linux servers. Once you are done, if you just if you open this script just to see a few things and you did not make any change, so you can exit with 24 without any changes, or you can apply if you have made some changes like creating user, adding website, deleting user, deleting website, right? Deleting IP, adding IP, all these options they need to be applied first, otherwise they won't have any effect. So with option 43 you apply the changes, and then with 44 you can exit without applying those changes, and with 0 you also exit the script. So let's see if we are somewhere. Now it's still going on, so we have to wait a little more. Okay, so we are almost done. Okay, here during the final setup, during the configuration, the final thing it will be asking you that how many ports do you want to add. Remember the maximum ports supported or maximum proxies supported by the script for 10,000. But you should be entering the maximum limit that you will be using on this server maybe in future. For example, if it's not like that you would go for the 100 IPs for testing and then you would like to expand it to 10,000. No, if you uh, need and if you believe that you can go up to the maximum 10,000, then go for 10,000 over here, right? So this is again the maximum limit that you can set. But since I'm using a virtual machine, I don't have those much IPs. What I will be doing, I'll be just entering, say, just maximum 200 IP or 150 maybe. Okay, that's the maximum ports my VM can support. So I'm going for 150, and then enter, and now initial setup is complete. Please run this to start creating proxies. Now we run menu.x. There we go. And the first step, okay, so we want to add the IP with the option 1. So here it will basically display you some information that if you have a /30 network, that means you have maximum one network and you can have 4 IPs maximum. These are actually, when I'm talking about these IPs, these are the extra IP that your server has, right? And /29 means 8 IPs, and 28 means 16, and so on, right? So here, what I know, I have only one network, but I have say 100 IPs, so I will go into this. I will be adding maximum how many, so it's up to me I can maximum at a time. You can add, if you have say slash 24, you can have one network. If you have slash 23, so here you will enter two. Right? If you have slash 23 network, you have two networks, means 5.2 IPs, but at a time you can maximum add 255 IPs. So you will enter the maximum IPs that are 255. So here I will be adding the 100 IPs max. I don't have enough. And then what is the initial IP, right? So I think you must know that, for example, if you have 43.55.65.0 slash 24, this means you have the IPs. How many? 2255 IPs starting from 43, starting from 43.1 to 255, right? So this is how you this will be your the initial first IP. But in my case, since I'm using the virtual machine and I'm using my own local network, so I will be starting from 192.168 say dot 10.51, right? When I hit enter, you can see the IPs have been added. And once the IPs are added, those IPs will be available in your stock. You can actually display available proxies using option 8 and see if you have how many IPs. You see, you have 100 proxies available, right? You have 100 proxies available. Okay, so now next step is to add the IPs to the interface. And here you will be if you have multiple adapters or network adapters or Ethernet adapters of your server, you will definitely be displayed all of them, and you will select the one which is active. you know Normally Windows will definitely automatically tell you that this is the active CNIC. In my case, I have just one, so it was automatically selected by the script. And now, how many IPs do you want to add? Same as the previous one. I added 100 IPs to the server, so obviously I'm gonna add 100 IPs to the interface as well. But in your case, it depends on your network or the subnet. So what is the initial IP? 192.168.10.1, same as the previous one. There you go. And once it's done, now it's time to add users. So I won't be adding just single user. I'll be adding bulk user, and I'll be adding two users at a time, but you can add as many as you want. 5 with option 5. How many users do you want to create? I want to create two users. Username test1, test1. And how many IPs do you want to assign to this user? Say I want to assign 40 IPs to this user. Okay, then test2, test2. How many IPs? I want to assign, say, 30 IPs to this user, right? Once it's done, right? The next thing is to assign IPs to bulk users, right? Now I'll go for option 6. How many users you want to assign IPs to? Basically, I want to assign IP to 2 users, and then test 1, and it will ask me how many IPs you want to assign. So in previous, when I created the user, I assigned how many ports. It said 40 random ports have been assigned. So it means that as many ports, as IPs, right? So I'll be entering here 40 IPs. Now you see 40 IPs have been assigned to this user test1 successfully, and now the remaining available as in stock are 60, right? So I go here and test 2. How many IPs? And in previous, if I remember, I assigned 30 IP ports, and here I'm assigning 30 IPs, and see now the available IPs in stock are 30. If you want to see also, you can just do this option 18 and see that you have 30 remaining IPs in the stock. Right now, you have to look over here at the root and see that when I generate the proxy, output is generated with option 9. I'm going to generate proxies for user 1. It's test 1. There you go. When you refresh, see and open the files, this is the format. Now IPs should be working. Let's check that. Now this is how we can check. I cannot check them with the proxy tester. Why? Because these are my local proxies. They won't be able to access from outside, so I can use them within my network. And let me see here. Now, let's see that we have the okay code is okay, and now we should be able to okay not asking for the username and password. It is test one and pass one, right? Sign in, and then we should be there. You go. We are now able to this is working. So internet is working on this proxy. Now we will check for the now we generate with option 9 test2, and you can refresh and the file will be created over here with the username itself, and you can now check this one. I'm checking just for one because I know all others are also working. So now I have to remember what was the code for this. It was 40, right? 50,040. So once I click OK, let's see, it will ask me for username and password. It's just to pass to go, right? See, now we are able to use this. Okay, now finally, let's test this set expiry date and see how it actually works. With option 7, enter username. Now here, for example, I am going to set the expiry date for username test1. Please read everything carefully. This is actually the format how it will accept, right? You can see over here, this is how it will accept. I have given an example. For example, if you want to see set for June to June and 2:30 p.m. It's 24 hours time. It accepts like this. So this will be the format, right? So before that, let's check. Let's check what is the current time. This is the current time. Okay, it's 4:09 p.m. Or 16:09 and to 5 June 2021. So let's go for this and let's see. Since I cannot put it for many hours, so I'll be just using it for a few minutes. So it is let me check again. It's 10. It's 4:10. So I'll put it for 12, right? It's 2021 and the month is 06 and the date is 05 and time is sorry 16. It means 4 and 10. I will put it for 13. So at 4:13 p.m. this script will this user will expire, right? This user will expire. So let's wait for that, and we in the meantime we can check that till so sorry, we have to check for the user 1, and that was like this 50,000 and it was one. So let's see if how it's working. Okay, still it's working, and we can actually display all users with option 19 and see all our created users. We see over here test one, it's pass one. So time, okay, it's 11, and I remember I put the expiry date to say at this at this particular time, right? 19. This is the job 19 at Saturday, June 5, 4:13 p.m. 2021. This user will be this user will expire. So we can check again if 19 and okay, we are just a minute away. Let's oh sorry, I forgot to apply the changes. You see, this is how it can affect. Changes have been applied, right? So once the changes have been applied, now we should be now we should check. So see, now it is asking for username and password, and when I click sign in, it won't let me in. Why? The reason that is the test user is no more. It has expired, right? It is expired. You cannot use test one anymore now. Test user is expired, right? But now let's see if we can still access. Now let's see if we can still access the user 2, and it was 10.91 and it was 40, and we should be easily able to access internet using 30. So now user 2 is perfectly alright, and here you can see that if you would like to see the available proxy, you could see now you have 70 available proxies. Why? Because the proxies issued to the user 1 have been brought back into the stock, and user 1 is no more eligible for using, and there is no user 1 now because it expired, it has been deleted, right? So this is actually how it works, and rest of the options, they are same, and I have explained all of them in my previous videos. Only this set expiry date was the new feature. For that purpose I created this video. I hope you will enjoy this, and if you have any questions, you are most welcome to put your questions in comments or send me an email. Thank you very much.